Alright, we're back for another painting tutorial, and today we're going to be painting the Corsair Voidscarred from the new Kill Team Nachmund set. And as you see here, it's already a little different. I have the full 10 arrayed here. I am going to be painting all 10 at once. Probably most of the time in this video we'll be focusing on this guy, but I will be putting them all out for a so you can see how the progress is progressing every couple steps or so, probably. As you see, I have built them all with the basic rifles. The Shuriken something or others. I'm not sure what they have. They're going to be Shuriken catapults for me, because I plan on running these guys as just a fancy unit of Eldar Guardians. There are 3 options for every single miniature in this box, and so you could go nuts and do all sorts of cool stuff. And for my second set of these guys, I probably will do that. But for these guys, I just did the basic rifle as Guardians. So I'm going to get all these guys out of the way, and then we'll come back and do the first color. Alright, so we're back and ready to put our first color on these guys, and that's going to be Iyanden yellow, because we are painting these in the style I've chosen for my army, which is the Iyanden colors. I will say all these guys were primed first with Chaos Black Spray from Games Workshop, and then Zenithaled, well, really like a heavy Zenithal, because, you know, there probably shouldn't be light coming from every direction on him, but you guys get the idea, with Wraithbone Spray from Games Workshop. So I'm just going to give this Iyanden yellow a good shake, and then we'll get right into it. So this is going to be on all of the armor, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of the colors that we're putting on this guy are very forgiving in terms of if we get yellow on them first. So we don't have to be ultra careful about what we're doing here. We just want to make sure that we get yellow on everything. The helmet is of course going to be blue, and that will be a layer paint, that won't be a contrast paint, so that will obviously cover over our yellow just fine. The cape is going to be Achelian green, very dark contrast color, so no problem there. The pouches and belts are going to be Gorgrunta fur, again dark color, will cover over any yellow mistakes, no problem. And then metallics are going to be, well, metallics, which will obviously cover over almost any color. So we don't have to be super precious about any of this. I am going to be careful just because you never know, even if you're using a dark contrast color, it could affect the overall color quality. So I don't want to make mistakes, or I don't want to go outside the lines on purpose. But I'm just not being super precious about making sure I absolutely stay between the lines. There will be more colors than the, whatever, 4 or 5 I just mentioned here. But those are the main ones. But as usual with these paint videos, I try to keep it very simple. We're going for battle ready here, which is the basic standard. You know, get your miniatures on the board, get those 10 points for painting, and carry on. And as I always say, you can always go back later if you get your army to battle ready, and then 6 months down the line you realize you want to take them to a higher standard. Nothing that we've done here will prevent you from doing that. So that looks to be about everything on him. That's going to be yellow. Like I said, helmet is obviously going to be blue. This needs to be yellow. So I will let him dry, as well as put the yellow on the other 9 dudes that we've got in this kill team. And then I will come back and we'll do the next step. Alright, we're back and our yellow is all nice and dry. And now we're going to move on to the capes, or the cloaks, whatever you want to call them. We're going to use Achelian green for this. This color is called Achelian green, but it really comes out more of a bluish green. And honestly, really more blue than green, but I really enjoy the color. I've been using it a lot lately, so I'm going to do that. And hopefully, I don't actually know yet, but hopefully it doesn't clash with the helmet that is going to be in blue for Iyanden. So on the cape, I'm just keeping the strokes of my paintbrush long, because we want a nice smooth finish with this contrast paint. I am avoiding this fur up here though, because we want to do this fur in a contrast paint as well. So we don't want to get this color all over it, especially because I don't know what color I'm going to do this yet, and so I want to be careful. Just need to get the inside of this now. And a tip, when you do something like this, where typically it's like capes and things where you have two sides. Once you do the contrast on one side, or rather, once you do the contrast on the second side, go back and double check your edge, because sometimes your paintbrush will slip over and it'll mess up your contrast paint on the side there. So I'll see if I can do it on purpose here. So see right there? I got a big old bundle of extra contrast paint from when my brush slipped over the edge. So you just want to come back, double check, and make sure that your edges are nice and crisp and haven't gotten messed up. It also happens when you do the bottom. You see how this, you get little bits of paint like that. So you just smooth them back out and you're good to go. Just make sure that we get all of the cape in here. I think that looks good. So I'm going to do this on the rest of the kill team, and then we'll come back and do the next color. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the whole kill team capes done, and now I'm going to grab our main figure here and go on to the next color. Alright, so we've got our main guy here, and now we're going to go on to the pouches and belts and stuff. And so for that, we're going to use Gorgrunta fur. This is a pretty reddish brown color, and so I think it looks nice with the yellow that we have. Just being careful not to get it on our yellow armor. We could clean it up if we needed to, but, you know, I'd prefer not to, obviously. These guys, because they're sort of like special forces or something equivalent, they do have quite a few belts and pouches. That seems to be a GW theme, is the more specialized you are, the more pouches and belts you have. So just make sure to get all of them. And I'll do the one on his gun as well. Go. And then just about going around and making sure you've got them all. So there's one hiding here, for instance. We'll get that. They do have some things tied around their arms. Those are going to be in our accent color, though, not in this color. Same with like this strap right here. It's going to be our decorative accent color. So I think that should be everything. Oh, no, right here. Oh, and this is a pouch right here, too. So yeah, you just want to go around the miniatures looking for these pouches and belts and stuff. And fill them in. And that should be that. So I'll do that on the rest of the miniatures, and then we'll come back and do the next color. Alright, we're back, and I've put the brown on all of the Voidscarred here. And now we're going to do two colors in one step. First, we're going to take some Azurius purple. You could do this with the contrast purple, whose name has escaped me. But I realized that I had used the last of it, of the pot I had, on a project I was recently working on. So, I'll be using this normal purple. There's not a ton of this to do on these miniatures. It's going to be mostly this decorative cloth they have, and then like the tassels and stuff, ribbon tied around their arm or whatever that is, that kind of stuff. So either one is fine, either contrast or this layer paint purple. So just being extra careful not to get any of this on anything else. Again, we could clean it up, but I would prefer not to. There we go. Oh, and then on the side here. Alright, and then he's got this, I think they all actually have this ribbon tied around their arm. I think the Guardians had it too, so it must mean something in Eldar culture. Just being careful around the yellow armor. So, then there's these, so the decorative hair on the helmet, and then these plumes here that some of them have, right there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with them yet. They may end up being purple. If they do end up being purple, I'll just do them between clips. And if I decide I want them a different color, I'll include that as a step. But that's the purple done. So now we're going to go on to the blue. This is, I've explained and showed this in a previous video, the Iyanden Guardian video, but I'll do it again. The color we're using is Techless Blue. And I'm just going to paint in the helmet. And again, making sure not to bump anything. Ooh, got that off of there. Just a second. Although actually, this has told me that I will be doing this in a layer color because I don't want to have to try and be super careful around this bit of the helmet. I just want to go crazy like I just did. So we will not be using a contrast paint on these plumes. Using a layer paint. Nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Letting, basically, what boils down to just being lazy. Allowing it to guide your painting, whatever's going to make it easier for you or more enjoyable or whatever. Then I am doing the knee pads in this color as well. Just for some more of this blue. Just being careful not to nick anything. There we go. So, I will do that purple and the blue on the rest of the warband, and then we'll come back and do the next color. Alright, we're back, and I've got all the blue and purple dried on him and the rest of them. Now I'm going to go on to Black Templar, and that's going to be for the weapons, and I realized that's also going to be for the tassels that I talked about earlier. I think the black on those tassels will look good, so that's what I'm going to do. But first, I'm just going to block in all the weapons. They'll obviously have more color added to them later, but for now, I want the whole thing blocked in with black. And this will go over any color we've had on, or we've accidentally gotten on there in one of the earlier steps, so it's not a problem. Just trying to avoid the other colors where possible. Well, I gotta do the inside of that strap. I just realized I'll do that at some point. For now, just going to continue blocking in the black here. most of this sword will probably get changed to a different color, but there's no harm in blocking it in black now. And then if I decide not to change it, I don't have to worry about covering up the primer. So it will already be colored. Good. So then I'll do these tassels as well. And this should cover over the blue that we got on here just fine. Might be slightly visible, but I'm not super concerned with it. Just put it in a little heavier up there where we had some of the mistakes. And we'll be good to go. So I'll finish blocking it in on this this plume and then the last one here hanging off the back. And then I'll do that on the rest of the troops, obviously. Then I'll come back, and we've only got a couple colors left before our primer is all colored. So we've got maybe 3 or 4 steps left until we're really just about done. So once this black is all dry on all 10 of them, I will get an update of all of them together, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so we've got all the black done, and now we're going to move on to some details that are not on every miniature, but that are on a couple, starting with the bird. Alrighty, so for the bird, which is only on the one miniature, and I should point out this is not where he goes officially on this miniature. This miniature is holding a pistol, I think, with his hand outstretched with the bird attached to it, but because I wanted to do the gun, I decided I would attach the bird, and I just attached him right there under the shoulder pad. So, for the bird, we're going to do Blood Angels Red. This is going to end up being the same color as the gemstones that we do on these guys, but because we'll be base coating those gemstones in silver, it won't have the same finish as those gemstones, and so I think it'll work out just fine. Once the red is dry, I'm going to come back and dry brush some orange on him, maybe highlight a couple of the feathers specifically, and then do his beak black and his eyes and things like that. I probably won't make a full clip for that since it's just on the one miniature. It's probably not worth it, but I'll be using Abaddon Black or Black Templar for the eyes and the beak, and then Troll Slayer Orange and maybe Jacaro Orange for the highlights on the feathers. You'll see that in the finished product, but for now I'm going to go on to a color that is on a couple of the miniatures, and that's this fur here on the back of their cloaks, and it's only on 3 of them. So for that, I'm going to use snakebite leather. I actually kind of wish it had been put on more of the miniatures because I really like how it looks. But nevertheless, the ones that do have it will look pretty cool, I think. And, you know, if you were feeling extra spicy, you could go in and sculpt some fur, or these might be feathers, actually, now that I look at this one. Could sculpt some fur or some feathers or something onto the back of the rest of them. Especially if you're using these guys for kill team, you could definitely afford to take a little more time on each miniature and really give them an individual feel, since you probably won't be using more than, I would think, 10 would be your absolute maximum, and even that might be more than you'd use. So I'm just going to put this, as you can see now, onto the second miniature, and then we have one more that has this as well. I'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do the silver and the gold. Alright, we're back. And for our next color, we're going to use Retributor Armor, and we're going to do this for all the decorative metal on him. So, for example, this stuff here, this down there, the guard on his sword, this sort of thing, that right there. And then we're going to use silver for all the functional, I'll call it, metal. So the buckles on the belts here, all the gemstones, whose actual name escapes, soul stones I think they might be called, those will be silver. The blade of the sword will be silver, so on and so forth. But for now, we're just going to do the gold. So like I said, Retributor armor. Need to give it a better shake though. There we go. So I'm just going to come in and get all this stuff. Some of this decorative metal that we're doing in gold has a soul stone. I really hope that's what they're called. Spirit stone, maybe? Whatever they are, some of them have those embedded inside them, and so we will come back and paint those in with silver later. But I'm blocking them in gold now, so that if I accidentally forget one later, I won't have just primer showing, basically. Let's get the gold of his sword here. His, what looks to be a pirate cutlass sort of thing. Or one of those fancy French dueling swords from Three Musketeers. Whatever the case, it looks pretty cool. If you're a sword expert, please don't crucify me in the comments. My knowledge of swords extends to, wow, that looks cool. That's about it. Alright, what else on him needs to be silver? This decoration back here, as well as the thing holding on the tassel. There we go. This little half moon down here. And the little clip holding it on. Wonderful. Let's do this. It's got a little thing holding his grenade on. Let's do that in gold, why not? Oh, let's just get gold all over his elbow. How about that? Just clean that up. Just flood the area with water if you make a mistake like that, and it should come right off, no problem. Oh, and then he's got... Now, I was going to do some detail here on the head, and I will do that, but we need to do the other set, or the other layer of blue on here first. So for now, I won't do that, and I'll do that at a later date. I think, otherwise, that will be all the gold on him. Just looking around. Yep, that looks about good. So, I'll do that on the rest of the miniatures, and then I'll come back and do the silver. Alright, we're back, and I realized before I do the silver, I want to do the second layer of blue on the blue parts of his armor. So for that, we're going to use Guilliman Glaze. And if you don't have access to Guilliman Glaze, because it is not made anymore, I talked about it in my Iyanden video, but you can mix Aethermatic Blue, just right here, Aethermatic Blue, and Talisar Blue, which I don't actually have on hand. Wait, I do. Talisar Blue. Mix these in a 3 parts Aethermatic Blue to 1 part Talisar Blue, and you'll get the same sort of color as this Guilliman Glaze. Guilliman Glaze, like I said, is no longer made and can be kind of expensive on the secondary market. I was thankful to still have a couple pots left over from back when they did make it, and so I'm going to keep using it. Once I run out, if I still need it, I will be absolutely doing the Aethermatic Blue, Talisar Blue mix, because I do not feel like paying the secondary market prices for some of these pots. I'm just putting that over the blue armor to shade it and to darken it down. I really like how Guilliman Glaze and Teclis Blue interact with each other. So, I'll let that dry, put it on all the other miniatures, and then I will come back and do the silver. Alright, we're back, and the blue is all nice and dry and drying on the rest of them. And so now we're going to go on to the silver. We're going to use plate mail metal for this. If you want the Citadel equivalent, I would go for Ironbreaker. I used this plate mail metal because I didn't have a pot of Ironbreaker on the first Eldar I did, and now just for continuity's sake I'm going to continue to use this. But like I said, if you want the Citadel version, Ironbreaker is almost the exact same color. So, as I said when I was doing the gold, this is going to be on all the practical metal, so belt buckles, soul stones, spirit stones, if we ever remember the name of those things. I'm sort of leaning towards spirit stones now. So I'm just going to block all this in. And this step very well may be the longest step of the entire process. There's a lot of little details on him, and on all of them, that need to be this color. So just find yourself a good movie or podcast, maybe some YouTube videos by a cool YouTuber, and get into it. So there's belt buckles galore, soul stones or spirit stones galore, all sorts of stuff. The sword blade we are going to do in a different silver, which I will come to shortly. And he's actually the only one with a bladed weapon out, so it'll just be for this guy. I believe there are enough swords in the kit that you can actually do every single miniature with a sword, so that's kind of cool. I just went for the guns because I want to run them as normal guardians. But it is nice to have the options, and having all swords means that you could run them all as storm guardians too, which is pretty neat. This is, of course, if you're not running them as the Voidscarred Corsairs, which you can do in the Eldar Codex anyway. So I'm just going to keep doing this, get all these things, get the buckles, holding things on, spirit stones, little details like this. And then I will do this on the rest of the miniatures. And then we'll come back and we'll apply some washes and call them done. Alright, we're back and we're ready to start in on our next color, which is going to be some helmet detail. So for this we're going to use Blue Horror, and if you've noticed while I've been painting these guys that all of them have sort of decoration or pattern or something on their helmet, and so we're just going to draw this in with some Blue Horror. Just to give the helmets a little bit more definition and interest. This is something that you wouldn't necessarily have to do, and to be honest, on tabletop or battle ready miniatures I wouldn't always do this, but I just decided that they needed a little more oomph to them. So that's all we're going to do there. And then we're going to take some orange, in this case Fire Dragon Bright, and I'm just going to do his eyes. So just being careful not to hit the blue anywhere except his eyes, obviously. There we go. That will do. And then the only thing we have left is to do some Nuln Oil and possibly some Agrax Earthshade. We'll see. We're going to start with Nuln Oil, though. Oh, this is not at all the last thing we have to do. We have to finish the gems as well, but that's okay. We can do this first. So I'm just going to put this on the black, first of all. And then on the silver and on the gold. it does seem a little silly to be putting black wash over black, but I find that it helps unify the appearance of our black contrast paint, and I really like how it comes out, so that's why I do it. And then on these buckles here and on the gold, and then we'll do some here. Oh, and the purple as well. The purple, we'll get some null oil. And if it gets on the brown, no big deal. So in there, and then down here. I also decided to leave the sword blade black. I was going to do it in a different color silver, but I decided to actually kind of like it in the black. So who knows, I might change it later, but for now, it's going to stay black. That, and this. And then all this other silver, all the gemstones everywhere, we don't need to put that, we don't need to put null oil on that because we're about to hit it with our gemstone color. And so for that, you could use a Soulstone Red, I think it's called, which is the official gemstone paint. For me, though, I'm just going to hit it with some Blood Angels Red. Grab my skinny brush here, and then go along, being careful not to run over the edges. And just paint in the gemstones in red. And there will be a lot of these, so if you want, also, you can mix it up and do only some of them in red and leave some of them silver. So for instance, on the gun here, I'm just going to do the ones around the main body of the weapon in red, and I'm going to leave the rest silver. Like that, and then those are going to stay silver. Get this one, all the ones up here on his armor. And if they have a case like that one and this one, just making sure to only get the center, leaving the casing in silver or in gold, depending on what you decided to go with. There we go. And I knew there was one somewhere on here. There we go. And then it's just a matter of spinning the miniature around, looking to see if you missed any. I don't think I have. Oh, I did. Back of the sword here. Well, in the middle of his forehead. Alright. So, I'm going to go do that on all the rest of the miniatures. And then, yeah, that'll be about it. But right about now, you should be seeing pictures of all of them all done together on their bases. Very simple bases for this. Not really 100% sure how I want to do the army, so for now, just paint the base a color and put a couple tufts on it, and that'll work for battle ready. And then one day down the line, if I decide I want to do a more in-depth basing scheme, or I come up with a cool one, then I'll just do that. But for battle ready, that's absolutely fine and will work just perfectly. So, I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. There will be a video coming next week. Hopefully my review of the speed paint from Army Painter. I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've heard a lot of negative things about them. I'm going to go through and see how we fare. And then coming up pretty shortly will be the Nighthaunt vs. Daughters of Cain box. I'm very excited about that. But again, thank you everybody for watching. If you liked the video, please feel free to click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.